I'm Carol Pendergrast, and I moved to Mexico 4 years ago. I'm in my 80s, and it was not too late to move here, but I wish I had come much earlier. But one nice thing I've found is that Mexican men don't seem to be bothered by a woman's age. If she's attractive as a woman, well, they don't care about the number. So I like that.
Hey, Gen Max, you just met Carol, and we're going to hear all about her story. And she is living proof that it's not too late. It's never too late to live your dreams, to move to Mexico. And that's what I help people do here on this channel, Almost Retired in Mexico, is to live your dreams. And I always encourage people to do it sooner rather than later. We're going to tell Carol's story. We're going to hear about where she lives, and we're going to hear all about making the move to Mexico and what life is like here, even if you're in your 80s.
Be sure to get health insurance as soon as you get here, if you're under 75. You can get it later, but it's so astronomically expensive that most of us over that age will use SkyMed, which is an evacuation service, that if we should need to be helicoptered up to the U.S. for treatment, Medicare will see us, and the SkyMed will cover the transportation.
SkyMed is a great option. Kat and I have SkyMed too, and they will take you for just about anything that ails you. They'll take you back to the United States, even if that's in a helicopter or a private jet or just a commercial airline flight. Say you break your arm or something and you want to get treated in the United States. SkyMed's a great option. There'll be a link down below if you're interested in that.
One of the reasons I moved up to Ensenada for part of the year, partly to escape the hot months that are now happening in San Miguel, but partly to be closer to the border. SkyMed can also take you by ground transportation up to San Diego if you want. But I know a man here that takes people up for medical appointments, and he does not charge them for the waiting time. So it's very good that you get a private driver that takes you up there and waits and takes you back home to Ensenada. I'm glad to be in Ensenada for part of the year, but I do love San Miguel, so that's my main home.
So Carol is definitely living an adventurous life, and I'm sure you might want to do the same thing, and you just need to plan out how to make that happen. And now is a perfect time to mention that this video is in paid partnership by BetterHelp. Their online therapists are available almost anywhere in the world by phone, messaging, and video chat. If you're a follower of my videos, you probably know that I've worked with a coach/therapist during my time in Mexico. She is in the UK, and she's helped me with kind of traditional therapy type things like dealing with my depression, but she's also helped me in more of a coaching role when I needed help with planning and goal setting. If you want to give it a try, you'll get 10% off your first month if you use my link, betterhelp.com/almostretired. If you need help with planning or goal setting, join the 4 million people who've already worked with BetterHelp to start living a healthier, happier life. Now, let's continue with the video. I actually thought about titling this video living between Mexico and Mexico, because I live between Oregon and Mexico, but Carol lives between San Miguel de Allende and Ensenada.
Important to say de Allende because there's a little town or segment of this area called San Miguel north of here. So I have to say San Miguel de Allende. It's a lovely town. It is loaded with culture. That's why I moved there initially. I went there first for a tango festival, and they had a wonderful tango festival. It lasted 2 more years after I moved there, but then had to move to Puerto Vallarta. There was a change in the city government, and they wanted to tax the festival so badly that the festival decided, okay, we'll move to Puerto Vallarta. They want us there. When there's a change again, they might come back. But anyway, it was a wonderful tango festival, and it brought people from all over the world. It was an international thing. So I liked that. That was what brought me there. What kept me there was all the culture. There are concerts, there are dance shows, there are films, there are lectures. Sometimes you have to choose between 3 good events in a night, and there's now a very active opera scene there. a man named Rogelio Riojas has headed an opera training group so that young opera singers can learn full opera roles. And so they do full operas, partially staged, in San Miguel, and they are absolutely wonderful. About one a month. It's just fantastic. And these singers also give concerts in between the operas sometimes, there's flamenco shows too, which is another passion of mine. And the flamenco singer that is so well known down there now, Alberto Solis, he's going to come up here with a flamenco show in Ensenada, 24th of this month. So I keep busy and I keep finding out where the culture is happening here. It's not as obvious as in San Miguel, but if you keep asking and keep looking around and reading, you find things. Like today, I'm going to go to a gastronomical festival, something like that. Yeah. Did you see about that?
I have not seen that.
It's at 2:30. It's the Estero Beach region. So I don't even know where that is. I have found out where regions are thanks to people in Ensenada who have helped me a lot. And there is a driver who brought me down from San Diego named Jose Luis Peregrina Garza. And he has shown me areas of Ensenada, even helped me find where I can buy gluten-free bread and things that I need like that. I have found in general that Mexicans are wonderfully helpful. It's very common in San Miguel. I take taxi cabs because they're all over the place. You can get one in a few minutes by just waving, and it's safe in San Miguel. Here, what I use is Didi because you don't have the cabs running around as much. And if you do take one off the street, they charge you an arm and a leg. So I take Didi in Ensenada, and I hail cabs in San Miguel. So I don't have to have a car, and I'm just delighted. I don't have to bother with insurance and repairs and all that jazz. That's an advantage of living in Mexico. There's a lot of public transportation.
Yes, I've got videos from San Miguel de Allende. I'll link those at the end of this one. Michael is a friend of Carol's, so there's a great video with him. And also kind of a tour of San Miguel de Allende, which it's just a beautiful town. If you haven't heard of it, definitely check it out. It's something, there's a lot of foreigners that live in San Miguel de Allende. It's definitely a pricier part of Mexico. And I always thought that the weather was perfect there all year round, but I guess it gets a little bit hot, which is why Carol is here in Ensenada for part of the year, because it definitely stays cooler. It's a little bit warm here today. This morning when I started out, it was really cool. I was wearing a jacket, but the marine layer burned off pretty quickly today. But let's talk about this place, continuing that kind of helpful people. Let's talk about where she lives here in an apartment. And as I knocked on the door today, and it took her a little bit to get to the door, two of her neighbors came to check on me to see if I was legitimately here or if I was not belonging here. Let's hear a little bit about this place, this little community that she has here. And it's just 4 blocks, I think, from the main drag, from where all the nice restaurants and bars and coffee shops and all that in Ensenada are. So let's hear about this.
I found this wonderful place by my usual method, which is walking around and talking to people. I had heard that these apartments are very good, but it said in Facebook that they didn't have any vacancies. Well, I decided I wanted to see what they look like anyway. And I get here, and guess what? It's got a gate with a lock and a combination. Both 2 gates, one for pedestrians, one for cars. So I can't get in to look at the complex. But just then along comes the manager of the complex. And she was very nice, and she let me in. And she showed me her office, so I got an idea of what the apartments look like. And I explained to her that I don't want to just rent it by the week, the way most tourists do here. But I want a year-round place, and that I'm a very responsible tenant, always pay on time, never break anything. And she should, if she would be so kind as to let the owner know, I would appreciate it. And I'm delighted to say that she did give the owner my phone number, and that I heard from the owner right away, that the owner made an appointment to meet me here and decided that, yes, it would be good to rent this unit on a yearly basis rather than a weekly basis. So that worked out very well. As I say, I think the best bet is always to go around looking and talking. And of course, it helps if you can speak Spanish, which I do. And I think it's very foolish to live here and not learn Spanish. I saw in San Miguel that most people are trying to learn Spanish at least. And in Ensenada, they don't seem to care. I guess they're close enough to the border or something. I don't know. But I belong to a lovely club here called Compañeros de Baja Norte, Club Compañeros de Baja Norte. And many of them are native Mexican, and they, of course, speak Spanish, and they're fluent in English as well. And I'm encouraging the other members of the club that they should learn Spanish, for heaven's sakes. And it's fun. You have to look at it that way, because if you look at the work, well, you're never going to be native perfect, no matter how hard you study. You never will be. But you just get better every day. That's the way I look at it.
And how did you start learning Spanish?
In high school, of all things, but I didn't learn much. Well, then I went to Mexico City and enrolled in a private school that was at that time called, well, it's too long a title, but it was a superb school. And the teachers in that school acted as though teaching Spanish was the most exciting thing in the world. And so I learned a lot. And then I heard that later that San Miguel de Allende school, there's an academia here, has the same system that the school in Mexico City had. And I had completed, I think, 3 of the 5 books in Mexico City, and here I completed the last 2. That was in the 1980s. But the foundation was so solid that it lasted when I came back here in 2020, I guess it was. Yeah.
So a lot of folks are concerned about safety in Mexico because there's, all sorts of news that gets back to the United States when something bad happens here. The good stuff doesn't seem to make its way back. But let's hear if Carol feels safe in Ensenada and also in San Miguel de Allende.
I have never had any problems. In fact, if I were alone on a dark street, I would ask a passing Mexican to go with me. That would be a safety guide. They are so helpful here. I did have to ask a stranger for help once when I had an injury and I was having trouble walking. And I said, "Would you mind if I took your arm?" I said it in Spanish, "until I can get a taxi." And he was very glad to help me and help me get into the taxi. And the next day I was fine. Oh, I also had a little accident here. I fell and a car knocked me over from the parking lot. So you have to watch out. If a car has its tail lights lighted, that means the car is about ready to move. But the people were very nice. And you can see a doctor here. You don't even have to pay. You can leave a tip next to the pharmacies. So they took me to one right away, and it was very minor injuries, just some little scratches, basically. But what is so secure here is I live in a complex that has a combination to get in the door of the complex, and then a combination to get into the apartment, which is important because I'm going to be gone a lot, and so my things will be protected while I'm here. So yes, I feel very safe here. I've never had any problems in San Miguel or in Ensenada. But I'm just use common sense. There's neighborhoods that people say stay away from, so I stay away from them.
I love that. The idea of people tell you to stay away from an area, stay away from an area. So many people are so concerned with safety, and they think the cartel is going to get them. And the cartel doesn't really care about you. As long as you're not in their business, they're not in yours. So be smart, stay safe, learn from people. What areas are the safe places to go? What areas aren't so safe to go? One other thing on safety, though, is San Miguel de Allende versus here, and being an older person and walking. So I want to hear the difference between kind of the sidewalks and the streets in both places.
The sidewalks and the streets are not in good condition in many parts of both cities. So I let vanity go and use a cane. That makes people think I'm older than I am, so they offer to help me, and I always say, no, gracias, no necesito ayuda. And you never know with the sidewalk, it could drop 2 feet suddenly when you're walking along. So you better keep your eyes open. They say in San Miguel, you can't walk and gawk at the same time. So you better keep your eyes open where you're walking because of the sidewalks being so irregular. And the streets are often in construction. So you have to be careful with the walking. I'd say that's your only safety concern more than anything else is the streets and the sidewalks.
So let's talk about long-term care.
One of the reasons I moved down to Mexico is I've outlived all my relatives who would take care of me when I get older if I need help, the way I saw my mother needing it in her old age. If I'm in Mexico, number one, it's much more affordable to get assisted living. And number two, the Mexicans are very kind to older people. And when I explained this reason to a manager of a restaurant, he said, well, I and Brenda would take care of you. I mean, that's the way they are. They're just very kind and helpful.
So before we wrap up the video, I want to get a tip for older folks who are thinking about moving to Mexico.
Only admit to being older when you need help. Otherwise, have a ball, have good adventures. It's very possible for women to meet men if they're open to that. And it's much better if you speak Spanish. Be ready to have adventures and to pursue your interests, whether it's music or reading or whatever. You can find it in Mexico and you can pursue it, usually very cheaply or sometimes even free.
I love that. Are you ready to live your life of adventure? What's your next step that you're going to take if you need help with planning that out? Of course, BetterHelp is a great option for that. BetterHelp.com/almost retired for 10% off your first month. Remember that. Otherwise, I would love it if you watch some additional videos. I've got that video with Michael Soloff down here from San Miguel de Allende. And also up here, I've got other interviews with folks who've gone through this process before you. Learn from them, get inspired by them, and definitely live that adventurous life that you know that you can. From Ensenada, wish you were here. Hasta luego.